yes, as Emily and Becky have told you about, our jackdaws do lots of activities as pairs, but as you will have seen around the place, they also do lots of activities in much bigger groups. And jackdaws have this fantastically rich social life, and we're only really getting into what they're using all their social bonds for and how they use them to help them learn. And that's what I'm going to talk to you about. So sociality and their social learning. So, but first let me just get into what social learning is so we're all on the same page. So social learning is where you or me or any individual forgoes your own learning, so you don't learn by experience yourself, but you in fact learn by watching others. So it could be in the form of kids imitating adults, or if you see someone hitting a parking meter, you're probably likely to go and find another one because it won't give you your change back. Or we also seek out social information all the time when we look up reviews for things like where to eat or which film to watch, because a lot of the time it's less costly to get information from others than to get it yourself. Because if you go somewhere to try and learn yourself and have a really bad meal, that's a really high cost. Whereas if you went on the internet, you could probably find out if it was good or not from other people. So you learn socially from others. But this isn't just people, birds do it too. And loads of animals do it too. And one really good reason is to learn about new predators when the cost of learning yourself is really high. So if you're a baby bird and you've never encountered this big, lovely, furry, stripy thing before, you might think it's really cute and you might go and have a look at it, whereas that's a pretty quick way to get eaten. However, if you've already been watching other individuals interact with it, you can learn how the correct response to interact with that thing is actually, scream at it, shout at it, run away. And then if you were to come into contact with it yourself, you're likely to produce the correct response first time without having to ever have learned it yourself. And so this is social learning. But in order to learn socially, you need other things to learn from, other people, in our case, other jackdaws. So here, this big spider web of diagram is what we call is a social network. So you may have seen them out and about. If you go through Stithians churchyard, you'll see one of my bird feeders. And this feeder, like Emily was telling you earlier, has two little antennae in the perch. And all of our birds have the little tags in their legs. And so when the bird flies in, boop, the tag is read by the antennae and it logs away who that bird is and how long they're feeding there for. And by looking at this information, we can work out which birds are hanging out with which other birds and build a map of whose friends are who and who are affiliating with other individuals. And that is what this big network here is on the right. So each of these little white dots is an actual jackdaw, one of the ones you could see out in the village, and each one of the lines is a connection, is a representation of who it's been spending time with. The thicker the line, the more time it's spent. So these guys here have spent lots of time together, whereas these guys haven't spent any time together at all. And you can think about this exactly like Facebook, and it is exactly the same principle. Each of these individuals that have a line between them are friends, and they are connected, and those that don't aren't. And what we can also do with this is see really easily and really visually how information can move through a population. So take this individual here, this red dot. Imagine it's learnt a new technique for finding food. It pecks much better than the others, and they want to know how to do it. So we can watch quite easily how that information will spread through a population by following these social ties. And for jackdaws, there's loads of stuff you want to learn about socially. As you can imagine, a bird, especially in urban environments, there are lots of things that can do you harm. There are people, sadly people aren't always kind to wildlife, things like electricity which can hurt you, animals, lots of animals that might want to kill you, cars that will hit you, lots of stuff you can eat that won't be good for you. So you have to learn about all of these things, and as I've hopefully explained to you, it can be really costly to learn yourself, and it can be really useful to learn from others. See, jackdaws have what is actually quite a superpower in this state. They're incredibly neophobic, and what we mean by that is they're scared of anything new. They hate new things, and which can actually be really useful in a town or a city where most new things can be quite bad for you. So what they do is they are scared of most new things and they won't interact with them firsthand, but they'll in fact learn from others that have that experience. So I'm going to give you a couple of examples of what we've done on the project that has proven this to be true and how they can use it to their advantage. So we're going to start with food. Like lots of children, jackdaws are incredibly fussy eaters. They won't eat new food at all readily, but what they do love is cheese. Now, if you put blue food colouring in that cheese, all of a sudden that's a new scary food and they want nothing to do with it. However, there's this neophobia, this being scared of new things, is on a sliding scale. Some are really, really scared and some are a little less scared. And all it takes is for one individual to really pluck up that courage to go and eat that bit of blue cheese. Others see them eating it and think, actually, this is all right. I could get involved with that. And all of a sudden, by learning from watching others eat, the entire population very quickly can learn that blue cheese is as good as yellow cheese. And so this is how they learn about new foods in urban environments. So this was work done by Alison, who is now in the Hawaiian Crow Project, Alex was talking about earlier. Secondly, I'm going to talk to you about how they recognise dangerous people. So I hope there are none of them in this room, but if they are, the birds will find you. So they learn about they socially learn about people, and this is work that Vic did a couple of years ago, and she's now just finishing her PhD with the project. So what she did is took these really, really not scary at all and not weird masks and paired them with calls. So if you saw anyone walking around the village with these masks on, this is what this research was for, and I hope you'll agree it was worth it in the end. So what she did is she had one mask and she paired it with a call of danger. So if you hear the bird saying that, that means danger. And what she did, she played that call from a different bird from bird 1 to bird 2 with the mask, and so they'd learn that that was the dangerous person. And then with a different mask, would show them with an everything's okay call. This is a contact call, this is just them just chattering. And if she later went back and presented both of those masks, the one that was paired with the dangerous call would get a much worse reaction than the one that was paired with the nice call, which shows that not only can they recognise individual faces, but they can also remember and learn from each other which ones are dangerous. So if you've ever wronged any of our birds, they will remember, and they will tell all of their friends. So just be a little bit but yeah, so this is really cool. And the fantastic thing about this research is people think it's really interesting, and I can prove it, because it's started to make it all the way around the world. And this is research that's been on dozens of international and national newspapers. And so that's one of the impacts of the project is, and I think this is fantastic, a small project of Jackdaws and Stithians is making it into newspapers across the world, and in multiple different languages. So, what am I interested in? That's how individuals learn from each other, but my research is more about who they learn from and when they learn from them. So we have to go back to the network and we can look at what is influencing information to move from this individual to this individual. So to do that, we look at what are called social learning strategies. So quite an easy one to visualize is adults are experienced, and the older you get in your life, the more experience you have, and that is experience that young people can learn from. So children learn from parents, and that is the same in the animal kingdom as well. So in this video, you see this individual here is having a little forage, and he's having a look at a bit of a patch of ground, decides it isn't worth anything in the end, but a juvenile seen him do that, and in a second will come in, all nosy, be like, oh, hello, what's that? And come in and has a little look and learns about a good place to eat from the adult. And this young learning from old is a classic strategy, and animals have loads of strategies. But as we've found out tonight, and as you know, the world is ever changing, and the environments these animals are facing are ever changing. And I want to know, are they able to change the strategies they use to learn based on this changing world? So, a classic analogy about this would be, now in the modern world, with modern technology, all of a sudden, young people sometimes have a lot more information about things like technology than their grandparents might do. And so that's a classic example of how a strategy might be able to change to benefit information in the population. So I'm looking at, can actually strategies change? Could the old learn from the young? And to do that, I use super bird feeders. And these bird feeders are like the normal ones, but they have fun little remote controlled doors on, which if the adults can correctly follow the young ones and complete the tasks I set them to learn from them, the tag comes in, you'll see my hand in a second, the tag comes in, is read, a little computer, causes the doors to open, and they can get high quality food from that. So that's the sort of experiments we're doing with that. And hopefully we'll be able to show that individuals might be able to change their strategies, which would be really, really exciting and a really useful way that they can help adapt to the urban environments and the changing environments that we are giving them. So to sum up, jackdaws socially learn, and they love to gather information from each other. They can learn about new foods, dangerous people. We can use the networks to work out who is learning from who and how they might be learning from them. Can they change their strategies? Can old jackdaws learn to use computers? You might have to come back next year for the showcase for that one, and I'll hopefully be able to tell you. But for now, thank you.